She stood outside my house in the middle of a blizzard, holding a shovel like it was a weapon. I had just run inside for 2 minutes to grab my daughter's blanket. 2 minutes. When I came back out, the snow mound where her stroller had been was gone. My heart stopped. Asterisk, I looked at care in her eyes, cold as the storm, watching me like nothing had happened. Asterisk, where's my daughter? I yelled, panic in my throat. Asterisk, she pointed to the fresh pile of snow beside my driveway, her lips twisted in that smug little smile I'd seen too many times. You can't leave trash on HOA property. Asterisk, that wasn't trash. That was my child. Asterisk, I dropped the blanket and ran. I didn't care that my hands were bare or that the wind was slicing through my coat. I clawed at the snow with my fingers, screaming her name. Maya. Baby, breathe, breathe, please. Asterisk, I pulled her out, ... Blue. Lips not moving, but warm. Still warm. Asterisk, Corinne stood behind me, arms crossed like she'd just done something noble. You people don't understand rules, she said. Asterisk, you people. Asterisk, the paramedics arrived within minutes, thanks to the neighbor across the street who heard me screaming. They rushed Maya inside the ambulance. One of them looked at me and said, "You got to her just in time." Another 5 minutes. Asterisk, I turned around. Corinne was filming me with her phone. Asterisk, look at this, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. A man like this shouldn't be raising a child. He just leaves babies in the snow. I didn't say anything, because that's the moment I decided I wasn't just going to fight back. Asterisk. I was going to destroy her. Asterisk, the doctor said Maya would be okay. Minor frostbite, some trauma. But she'd live. They kept her overnight. I sat next to her bed, holding her tiny hand, watching those little fingers twitch. She hadn't said a word since it happened. Asterisk, but outside that hospital room, my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Corinne had already posted the video. Her voice echoed. In the clip, he left his baby out in the snow. Call child services. Asterisk, it went viral in our neighborhood Facebook group in under an hour. All imams were already commenting, calling me unfit. One even said, "This is why people like him shouldn't live here." Asterisk, people like me. Asterisk, I've lived in that town longer than Corinne. Hell, I've run that town for 6 years. They just don't know it, because the mayor doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes he's a single dad in sweatpants, trying to survive a Tuesday. Asterisk, I didn't respond online. I didn't post a thing. I just waited. Watched. Asterisk. Then, 2 days later, I got a knock on the door. 2 CPS agents stood outside holding a file. We received a report about child endangerment. The woman said. Asterisk, Corinne was watching from her porch, sipping tea like she'd just sent a gift basket. Asterisk, they questioned me for over an hour. I answered everything. Calm, polite. Measured. Asterisk, because I knew something Corinne didn't. This wasn't just harassment. This was war, and I don't lose, especially not in my town. Asterisk, that night, after Maya was asleep, I pulled the security footage from my front porch camera. Every second was there, Corinne walking across my lawn, looking at the stroller, checking to see if anyone was watching, then dragging it behind my hedge and burying it. Asterisk, my hands trembled as I paused the frame where her shovel hit the snow. Over my child's head, I emailed the clip to 3 places. First, to the local news anchor who owed me a favor. Asterisk, second, to my lawyer who had been my campaign manager back when people actually voted for me to lead this town. Asterisk, and third. I send it to Corinne. Asterisk, no subject line, no message, just the video. It didn't take long. At 1:03 a.m., I got a reply. Asterisk, greater than you wouldn't. But I would. The next morning, Corinne was out early pacing her lawn like a cornered animal. She'd ripped down all her HOA flyers, deleted her Facebook posts, and even took the unsafe father signs off my mailbox, but it was too late. The story was already moving. Asterisk Channel 9 called it disturbing footage of local child targeted by HL, a member. The headline ran with a freeze frame of Karen shoveling snow. Right over Maya's stroller, comments exploded. She should be arrested. Asterisk, that's attempted murder. Asterisk, I hope the dad sues her into the dirt. Karen went silent, but that wasn't the twist. Asterisk, the real twist came when she showed up at the next OA meeting, uninvited, unannounced, and absolutely unprepared for what I had planned. Asterisk, because she still didn't know who I really was. Not yet. The room fell silent when I walked in. Asterisk. The monthly HOA meeting was usually held in a small hall at the community center, half empty. Chairs, lukewarm coffee, and bored faces. But tonight, every seat was taken. Neighbors who hadn't shown up in years were packed into rows, clutching printed screenshots, whispering to each other. Asterisk Corinne sat in the front row like nothing had happened. Glossy lipstick, pearls, clipboard in hand, as if she still had control. Asterisk she. Didn't asterisk I stepped to the mic? No need to introduce myself, but she tried anyway. Excuse me, she said, forcing a smile. Only authorized OO board members are allowed to address the meeting. Asterisk I raised an eyebrow. You sure about that? Asterisk whispers erupted. A few people laughed under their breath. Asterisk I pulled out a folded letter from my coat pocket, official letterhead. City seal at the top. I held it up without a word. Every resident there had seen that seal before. Property taxes, road repairs, voter cards. Karen froze. Then I said it. Asterisk, I'm the mayor of this town. Asterisk gasps. Some people clapped. Others stared at Karen like they'd just realized the truth. Asterisk, but I'm not here as your mayor tonight, I continued. I'm here as a father. And I want to know how a woman who isn't on any official HOA board managed to file a fake notice, falsely report child neglect, and nearly killed my daughter by burying her in snow. Asterisk Karen stood up. That's not what happened, asterisk. It's exactly what happened, I said, and tapped the laptop connected to the projector. The footage played. Silence. Then outrage. Asterisk someone shouted. She needs to be arrested. Asterisk another neighbor said. She's been bullying people for years. Karen's face turned white. She tried to grab her bag and leave, but I blocked the aisle. Asterisk. Sit down, I said. Quietly. You're not walking out of this one. Asterisk, because right outside that building, 2 real officers were waiting. Not her fake ones from before. Real badge. Real cuffs, and they knew exactly who she was. She didn't even make it to the sidewalk. Asterisk, as Karen pushed through the double doors, one officer stepped forward. The second was already moving behind her. She looked up, startled, clutching her purse like it was going to save her. Asterisk Karen Fielding. The officer asked. Asterisk she tried to keep walking. This is harassment. I didn't do anything wrong. I have rights. Asterisk, you do, he said, calmly snapping the cuffs around her wrists. And you're going to need every one of them. Asterisk, they read her the charges right there on the curb child endangerment, filing a false report, impersonating a public official, and tampering with evidence. Each word hit her like a slap. Asterisk neighbors were gathered outside now. People recording. On phones, Corinne's perfectly curated image crumbled with every flash and every whispered, she did what to that baby? Asterisk, she screamed as they put her in the car. This is a setup. That child wasn't even cold. I stepped forward. Finish that sentence, I said, eyes locked with hers. Say one more word about my daughter. But she didn't. The door slammed shut, and the cruiser pulled away. Corinne's face pressed against the window like a ghost finally being exorcised. Asterisk, I turned back to the crowd. A few people clapped, others just nodded, eyes wide. Some came up, shook my hand. One old man whispered, "We were scared of her, ... thank you." But I didn't feel victory. Not yet. Asterisk, because while Corinne was in custody, someone else had made that fake HOA notice, someone who signed their name president of the HOA, and that title wasn't Karen's, which meant one thing. She wasn't working alone. Asterisk, I didn't sleep that night. Asterisk, after putting Maya to bed, I stayed up combing through emails, documents, and property records. I had a name, Gerald Knox. He was listed as the interim HO president on the letter Karen taped to my door. I'd never seen him at a meeting, never heard his name during elections. Yet somehow his signature had shown up on notices across 5 different homes, each one served to immigrants, veterans, or single parents. A pattern. I drove out early the next morning, past the neighborhood gates, to a private office building, tucked behind the gas station. Knox Property Services was written in bold over the glass door. It wasn't a real HOA headquarters. It was a property scam office. And Gerald was the puppet master. Corinne was just his mouthpiece. I waited in the lobby, pretending to be a contractor. Took photos of the bulletin board, the fake HOA bylaws, even a drawer full of already printed warning letters with blank names. Then I saw it, a map. Red circles on certain houses, mine included. Notes scribbled, push out by Q3, ideal lot for remodel, called enforcement pressure. They weren't trying to enforce rules. They were trying to clear people out, asterisk, and they'd nearly killed my daughter to do it. That was the final line. I walked into Gerald's office without knocking, asterisk. He looked up from his desk. Confused. Do you have an appointment? Asterisk. No, I said, shutting the door behind me. But you have a problem. Asterisk. He stood defensive. Sir, I don't deal with residents directly. You'll need to asterisk. You're going to want to sit down, Gerald. Asterisk. I pulled out a flash drive. Inside, every document, video, signature, and voice recording I collected, including one of Corinne whispering his name during her arrest. He reached for the phone. Go ahead, I said. Call someone. Just make sure it's your lawyer. He didn't pick up the phone. He knew. Asterisk, the walls were closing in, and this time he was standing alone, asterisk. 3 days later, the town hall was packed again, asterisk, only this time. It wasn't for an IHO memeing, asterisk, it was for a criminal hearing, asterisk, the footage I gave the police had triggered a full investigation. Corinne was already facing charges, but Gerald? He was about to face the entire town. Fraud, harassment, conspiracy, abuse of authority, and a long list of fake violations targeting vulnerable families. Asterisk, the prosecutor didn't hold back. She read emails aloud, Gerald calling us easy. Targets, mocking people's accents, joking about flipping the neighborhood before the next election. Every word was a nail in his coffin. Asterisk, he sat there in a cheap suit, sweating, no lawyers around him this time. Corinne wouldn't even look at him from across the courtroom. She'd flip-cut a deal to save herself, gave up every document, every text, every meeting they had. But none of that was the best part. The best part came when the judge called me to the stand, not as the mayor, but as a father, asterisk, I spoke slowly. I told them what happened. I told them how my little girl was almost buried alive so a man could profit from my land. I told them how this wasn't just about property lines. This was about power, abuse, and people being pushed out of their homes for looking different. Asterisk, then I held up Maya's tiny pink mitten, the one I pulled from the snow that day, and I said, asterisk, this mitten almost became her gravestone. And he laughed about it. The silence after that line hit harder than any gavel. The jury didn't take long. Asterisk guilty. On all counts, but I didn't smile. Not yet. Asterisk because my final move, the one Gerald never saw coming, wasn't just about punishment. Asterisk it was about taking everything back. Asterisk a month later. The for sale sign went up on Gerald's property. Asterisk. But it wasn't some quiet relocation. It was an auction, court-ordered, public, and I bought it, every square foot, with a nonprofit I'd quietly set up called Homeground. Its mission? Protect families from fake HOA scams, rebuild trust, and turn Gerald's old office into a free legal resource center for anyone bullied off their own land. Asterisk irony. Asterisk, he now had to apply for a permit if he ever wanted to step foot back in this. Town. Curran disappeared from public life. Rumor had it she moved 3 states over, changed her last name, and started working at a diner. I didn't care. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. Asterisk because the real victory was Maya safe, smiling again, playing in the front yard with her mittens on. This time in the sun. Neighbors who once whispered now waved. People talked about the case like it was a movie. They still shared that one line from my speech, posted it on Facebook, printed it on flyers. Asterisk, this mitten almost became her gravestone, and he laughed about it. And every time someone repeated it, I felt 2 things. Pride ... and peace ... because I didn't just fight back. I changed the rules. In a town where people thought power came from fear, I reminded them what real power looks like. It's not Karen with a clipboard. It's a father holding his daughter, standing on his own land, saying not one step back, and meaning every word.